you for your time, as ever. Need to start really with Scott Davis and just your reaction to the sad news that we had yesterday.
Well, I've known for a couple of weeks now that it was potentially going to go the way that it's gone. But I had a good conversation with him, and I got on really well with him because I've known him for a long, long time. And it's no sad news for me. I don't look at it like that. He's had a terrific career. He's done absolutely brilliant for me and for every club that he's played. And it's now, I believe, a career that he needs to celebrate now and look back on with great pride. And now the exciting part is he's still a young man, and he now moves on to the next stage of his life now without playing in goals. So sadness, I don't look at it like that. It's obviously disappointing that he's had to finish playing football at this stage through injury, but he's 33 and had a terrific career. And if probably you would have offered him the career that he ended up having at the start, he would have bit your hand off for that. So he's achieved so much in his career and can look back now and certainly enjoy their memories.
Without getting too technical, can you give us an insight into the medical rationale behind the decision?
I think it sometimes when you get to a stage in your career and it's not the injuries aren't healing, not getting any better, and then there's a risk that because of the stage that the injury is at, that they only see more damage getting done, then you just have to make an honest call on it, and that's what's happened.
But as a servant to Tranmere Rovers, certainly in this century, you won't get much finer, will you?
No, in my playing career here, and in my management, you've had Eric Nixon, John Activell, Danny Coyne, Joe Murphy, and Scott Davis, and among them, superb goalkeepers. Certainly in my time there, and Scott Davis right in among them, some of the best goalkeepers in whatever leagues that we've played in. They guys, and Scott is definitely in and among all them, and he can be very proud of that, and I'm sure the fans would agree with that.
This might be a better question for Scott, but do you feel like you've still got a future in the game in some capacity, or even at Tranmere?
I think that's going to be up to him, but in the short term, he's going to be working in and among us because we need his character and his know-how in and among the players, which he's in today. He's here today. We'll get him out watching games. He wants to go out and do a bit of scouting for us, a bit of watching games for us. And then his character will be invaluable for us now coming into the second half of the season because, like I said, he's had a career where he's been there and done it. And he understands what it takes in order to try and get yourself winning games of football and give yourself a chance of being successful.
And Tranmere fans will know all about his character, but why is it key that he stays then in a just to be a vocal presence, I guess, in the dressing room?
Because we need him, because he understands what it takes, and because he loves the football club. And he will be somebody in that dressing room that will make sure, listen, I don't have a problem with my dressing room here, but it's just another character. It's another guy in the trenches, if you like, in order to try and win games of football. And if you are in the proverbial football trenches, you would want somebody like Scott Davis with you.
Yeah, and how far will that involvement go? Will he be in the dugout, for example, with you? No.
We already have a staff. That's a difficult part about football because there is so many cracking people around that could be involved and should be involved in football, but there's only so many jobs about, isn't there? No, we'll find and have found a role alongside Vonnie. James was in today, and he'll help in that side of things, and he'll help being in and around the place and making sure that we're in the right place to give ourselves a good chance of winning games of football.
Is James involved then in any particular side of things?
James is pretty much heads up with recruitment here at the club. works very closely with myself and the chairman and the analyst guys in order to try and help us to try and get decisions right on players into the football club. So he works very hard on that for us, along with Ben and all the other guys, Ollie and Kevin, the chairman. So we've got a little way of working now that works for us, and we're hoping to implement that over certainly the last 3 or 4 months.
Which leads me nicely into my next question. Josh McPake has arrived. So what's he going to bring to the team, and how pleased are you with his signing?
Very pleased to get him in. Very pleased that Rangers trust us with what they've said to us, and I agree is one of the best talents at the football club outside of the first team group that they want to try and get in and among that. He'll come here now and we'll try and help with his development as we do with all the loan players that have came to us. He adds variety and a different type of threat in wide areas to what we've already got. And we will need that in the coming games, because it's always nice to be able to know maybe around about you that either to start a game or during a game that you have different talents that might be able to help you get a result in games coming up, because we all know how unpredictable games can be, and it's always nice to know that you have had a selection from the bench or from the start that gives you a good chance of trying to put a team together that will get you a win.
And Tranmere have made a bit of a habit, haven't they, of strengthening the squad during January in previous years. How likely is that to be the case this time around?
Well, we hope so. We like everybody, have to maybe move a few things around, maybe a few players out in order to help us to get some in. But also we're in a good position as well, because we're well run and well backed, that we might be able to bring in, even without getting people out, if we feel that the right player comes along that will fit into the plan, which is Tranmere, either if that's short term or long term. If the right player comes along, I believe that we would have a very good go at trying to make that happen.
And just some questions on your existing squad. Mark Duffy I know he signed it initially for 6 months. Is he likely to be kept on?
No, Mark's gone now. He's left. He's left the club. So he goes with our best wishes, and he just needs to go out and play football now. Mark, that's what it is. He's at an age now where he has to play regular first team football. And the way we were playing, and the way that I believe games are going to go now, the qualities that Mark undoubtedly has, he's a very talented guy. We sat down, and I don't believe that I'll be able to give him enough football at the minute for a guy his age and his experience, and a guy who wants to play all the time and should do. So he'll now go and look and try and find that place that needs a guy with his undoubted talents to fit in with the way that they want to play, or the asks that they believe they're going to face.
There have been some suggestions from the Sunderland end that Josh Hawkes may go back. Can you perhaps give any sort of clarity on that? Yeah,
we've not heard nothing. Absolutely nothing. And as far as we're concerned, Josh has been a big part of getting us to the situation that we're in, the stage that we're at, the position we're in, and we would love to keep him here in order to go and try and keep that momentum going forward and keep ourselves at the right end of the division.
And how are you looking as a squad in terms of COVID and ahead of this weekend against Scunthorpe?
Got a few more this week. We've got a couple back, but we should be able to play. That's what I believe every football club should try and do. Try and play. We wouldn't have been able to play the last couple of games. We just didn't have the bodies, but we didn't have any goalkeepers, so that would have been tough to try and do that. But we will go out there, no ask for any pity. We'll go out there and put a team out there that we believe can keep us moving forward. And the most important thing is that the lads who have got COVID hopefully get over that quickly and not too poorly. That's the important part. It's the real life stuff. but it's a bit frustrating for a lot of them because so many of them it's not even touched them. They've not even got a symptom. In fact, the majority, none of them have come back to me and said that they've actually been any different to what they are every day. So that's probably a frustrating thing, but we've got to be respectful of this virus and make sure that we do everything that we're told that we have to do.
And what are your thoughts on Scunthorpe? And does it change the match in any way that there's a previous manager coming back?
No, they've beaten us before and deservedly beat us. We weren't good enough. We had a possession that we had to create enough good chances, or when we did create chances, we weren't good enough to put them away on the day. They defended so well. They defended the 18-yard box brilliantly well and fought for what was in the end for them a very valuable point, 3 points. So we'll be looking to try and make sure that we come out on the right side of the result this time. But we know that they're going to be a tough game for us, as all games in this division are, and we'll need to be better than what we were at Scunthorpe in areas of our game in order to give ourselves a chance of picking up a valuable 3 points.
Thanks for your time, Micky.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hi, Micky. Can I just check on how Paul Glatzel and Nat Knight Percival come along?
Paul Glatzel is back in training, full training, and is back in the grass with us all the time as of the last few days. Knight Percival is still injured but has got COVID, so he's not here. So he's at home getting over COVID, but he's suspended anyway. Injured anyway. And the same with McManaman, he's got COVID, but he's suspended anyway.
Are there any other COVID cases you can tell us about?
Yeah, but I don't want to speak about them. But we have. But we've got a few back as well. So, like I say, no pity. We'll have a group that we will believe that we can give us a good chance of getting a result.
Is back on the grass and back in full train? Is Glatzel potentially in contention for involvement at the weekend then?
We'll see how he reacts to the next couple of days training, but it might be a case of needs must. But we have to remember that there's a protocol for return. He's come back from an injury that he's had problems with before, so we have to make sure we're like all the young loan players that came to us. We will work closely with Liverpool to make sure that we get him back as close to being 100% ready to come back as possible. But he's certainly looking fine in training at the minute, and the signs are looking good. And the very minimum is he will be in the squad, and we'll have a look at needs must or whatever in order to make sure that if we do need him, he'll be able to play.
The league table doesn't lie, but as we know in League Two, it doesn't really make too much of a difference when it comes to predicting the outcome of a fixture. And Keith, obviously, he took Tranmere before his exit. He took Tranmere into the playoffs last season, and no doubt he'll be returning on Saturday with a point to prove. So a difficult match.
Yeah, all the games are difficult, but in football, there's two sides to everything. We have a point to prove as well. We want to win. We need to win. So we'll concentrate on us. We know that we've got to get a lot right. They've beaten us before over at Scunthorpe, so we know that they've done it before. So the threat is there for us. We know we've got to be the best version of ourselves. We'll concentrate and be in that, and get there and fight for a really valuable point, 3 points, because we need the points. So it should make for a terrific game.
Do you speak to Keith much? Is obviously both very experienced managers. Is he someone you speak to from time to time? I
know Keith very well. I spoke to him when I was in Scotland when he was here at Tranmere. I've known him for many, many years. I've not spoken to him for a bit, but that's nothing unusual. We all get on with our jobs and do what we've got to do. But no, I know Keith very well, and we will look forward to competing against his team at the weekend, as I've always done over the years. It's always been very competitive and interesting to go up against them.
You've answered quite a few questions already about Scott Davis, but obviously in my time reporting on Tranmere, he came in quite near the start, so I've kind of followed his time at Prenton Park very closely. And under your own tenure as well, Micky, it seems to have been the same, follow the same pattern in every season. There's ups and downs, and then it all seems to come together in the second half of the season. And Scotty was always someone who seemed to epitomise that sort of focus and message. Would you say he's very reflective of the sort of the Micky Mellon ethos on the pitch?
I also had him at Shrewsbury, Fleetwood as well. No, I wouldn't say we don't set out to have a pattern of how we want to do things. It just seems to go that way. But he is absolutely, if you're looking for a goalkeeper and a character that knows what it takes to win games of football and then win the pressurised games of football, the so-called big games of football when you go after Christmas, and he has always been for me one of the best at that. He understands it and never gets too flustered with it and just gets on with his job. He's always made some great saves, some really important saves, and up and through some unbelievable times with him. And he would be right up there with the best goalkeepers that I've ever worked with. And certainly, if I could find and keep finding goalkeepers with the kind of qualities that he's got, then that will give him a good chance of being successful.
Obviously, you're going to need big characters to be successful in the second half of the season. And your current captain, Peter Clark, turns 40 this week. I think he's still defying the ageists and the critics, but still delivering those performances week in, week out. And he's just going to be so important now, isn't he, in the running?
Yeah, listen, when we signed Peter Clark, we obviously have a handle on what the reaction is from the fan base, and I just laughed because there was quite a few going, how old? But we knew the type of guy he was. The same with Perkins, the same. It's about what qualities they bring you, and of course when you're bringing guys at that age, it's never for the long term. But Peter Clark has ended up being for the long term because he's played so many seasons for us at a certain level of performance, and he epitomises everything that we look at here at Tranmere. When we look at a player, we say, well, what is it actually all day? We don't look at your age, we look at what you can do for us, and is he still ambitious to want to keep doing well, and does he do all the things that are necessary to continue to do well? And he's did that. Joe Murphy's here, he does the same. They look after themselves, they train hard, and they rest well, and the off the pitch stuff is fantastic. Another example to anybody. And for somebody like Pete to still be playing, to me, is no great surprise, because I know that the time and the dedication and the care he puts into his preparation and his recovery after every game, and mentally, psychologically, his will to still want to improve and win is second to none. So it's great to have him here. I'd have to say it's the first 40th birthday party that I've been to with one of my players. I haven't been to one of them before, so that was certainly interesting. But no, I love Pete. He's such a good guy, a good family man, and I'm delighted to have him here at Tranmere, and long may that continue.